Happy Friday, guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Dubs. I'm your host, Bill T. Well, another Friday, another podcast, and this one we've got some current events that we're going to catch up and talk about that's taken place over last week. George and I are here today on the round table, and we're going to be discussing what's been happening in the VW scene lately. Lots of stuff going on. We'll go over some of the police reports and some of the things that are happening and maybe have a little further discussion on it. But before we get into that, make sure you guys support those who support Let's Talk Dubs. VW Trends Magazine, back from the dead, revived, and ready to rock. Plenty of features and lots of how-tos, a lot of full color features and stuff you don't see in the other magazines. So no holds barred, get the good stuff. VW Trends, go subscribe today at vwtrendsmagazine.com. Also, don't forget to go check out Ross Wolf, high quality aftermarket parts for enthusiasts by enthusiasts. So go check them out today at rosswolf.com. Go check out some of my favorites on their website. If you got a bus, you need some new stainless hinges, they make replacement stainless deck lid hinges on the back. They've also got the new Viton seals, which are great. Did a podcast with Jason that'll be coming out here soon. We just talked about new stuff they're working on and some of the development behind the Viton and some of those other things. So that'll be coming out soon. And don't forget to check the link in the description below for the LTD10 discount code to get yourself 10% off at Ross Wolf. So go check them out today at rosswolf.com. Also, Icon pistons. You guys want top quality, high performance pistons. There's only one piston to go with, and that's Icon pistons. Currently, they're made in 85.5, 92s, and 94s, 3 different pin heights. Go check them out. Where are you going to buy Icon pistons at? Well, I'm going to tell you that in just a minute, but first, let me pump up the pistons a little bit. These are made from 4032 alloy, which allows you to run tighter piston to wall clearances so you can get down, keep that compression, and make that motor put out maximum power. They've got 2 1.5 millimeter top rings and then a 4 millimeter bottom ring, which makes getting new rings for these things a lot easier. And also each piston gets M42 skirt coating to protect against dry startups, as well as give an extra layer of protection. The skirt profile is optimized for stability and performance in boxer engines. And how would these guys know? Because these guys make millions of pistons every year. And now the Big Boy Piston Company put out a line because there's a VW dude that snuck in through the back door and said, hey, boss, let's make some Volkswagen pistons. So the highest performance pistons that you can get right now, Icon pistons. Go get them checked out today. Where can you buy these Icon pistons? Type E Motorsports, CB Performance, RevMaster, the Dub Shop, and Churco Performance. So go check it out today. You want the best pistons? Make sure you only get Icon pistons. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get into it this week. Roundtable, Bill T. and George talking about current events happening and the craziness in the Volkswagen scene the past couple weeks on this week's Let's Talk Dubs.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out that doesn't look like a Volkswagen. It's got everything that people who like the bug like.
George T., what up?
Bill T.
Well, we got lots going on. Lots of craziness happening in the VW scene as of recently. We had a couple weeks ago, they had the celebration of life for our friend Bob Lacost. And about a few days before that was the kickoff, we had the unfortunate passing of Stan Ford. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of made a little bit more of a somber weekend of events that happened over there. And for those that are interested, there's going to be a celebration of life for Stanley Ford. Now, Stan passed away on...
he passed away on April 29th, 2025, and they're doing Stanley Ford's celebration of life at the Black Star Campout. And it says here that it will take place during the Black Star Campout located at the Rancho Juniper RV Park at 4800 Crestmore Road, Riverside, California, 92509. The area will be set up directly across from the cabins. Water and vodka cran will be provided along with various appetizers. Any other refreshments are BYOB. It is a park setting, so bring a chair. We will be hanging out, socializing, and remembering all that Stan brought into our lives. He will be missed and never forgotten. R.I.P. Stan. And that is on the OC Transporter Organization Instagram
feed. And so that's going to take place Saturday, June 7th, 2025. So go check that out. It's going to be at 6 p.m. If you guys want to be there for Celebration of Life. And so the crazy part is, they're having the Celebration for Life. Stanley passes away about a week before, just before that whole thing with.
It's only a couple of days, I think.
Yeah, it was a couple of days before that happened, and then they ended up. What got even crazier is there was a situation that took place at the Canyon RV Park, and that was crazy in and of itself. Got a clip right now that I'll play for you guys.
We begin here at 7 o'clock with breaking news. A dispute in a wilderness park ends in gunfire. Police say a man tried to run someone over with his car before turning a gun on two people and then himself. Hello, I'm Jory Rand.
And I'm Sophie Flay. This is Eyewitness News at 7 on ABC 7, Hulu, and wherever you stream. The two victims and the suspect are hospitalized at this hour.
This violent confrontation happening at Featherly Regional Park in Santa Ana Canyon. This is mostly a private park. There's very little public access. Eyewitness News reporter Tim Caputo is there on scene live and joins us with the latest. Tim.
Jory, Sophie, you guys are exactly right. There's an RV park here, so it's essentially private where the RV park is. But today and all weekend long, there's been an event here, so there have been people coming in and out for that event. As for the shooting this afternoon, while it did happen at a county park, the sheriff's deputies out here say there's no threat to the public, not only because the shooter turned the gun on himself, but they say this was not a random attack. Hundreds of people were at Featherly Regional Park in Yorba Linda, including countless kids, when shots rang out this afternoon.
Ropes course, actually, there was a birthday party going on for a 9-year-old girl. There was probably 25 kids there on the ropes course at the time. And all of a sudden it was hit the ground, get down, everyone get down.
The park, which has a camping and RV section, was also host to a vintage Volkswagen event this weekend, where VW enthusiasts showed off their vintage vehicles. The Orange County Sheriff's Department says the gunman and the victims all knew each other and apparently got into some sort of argument earlier in the day, but the suspect left the park.
Suspect was involved with an altercation with one of the members of the victims earlier in the day, responded back to the park, attempted to strike one of the victims with his vehicle, and then got out of the car and fired several times, striking at least two of the victims.
Deputies say the suspect then turned the gun on himself. All three gunshot victims were rushed to the hospital. Deputies also say a fourth person was hit by the truck, but their injuries weren't serious and they weren't transported. There were countless witnesses to this incident as the park was packed all weekend long. It was the final day of the event that's been going on here for more than 20 years, and those regular VW attendees say there's never been an incident like this before.
I've been here to most every show here ever since it started.
And describe the vibe. I mean, it seems
the
like
vibe is
chill.
Exciting and loving and passionate about the cars and about the whole scene and just camping and having a good time.
Well, you can't see it from where we're standing, but I could assure you sheriff's deputies and investigators are in the park right now continuing their investigation. As for the three people shot who were taken to the hospitals, the two victims and the one suspect, no update on their condition just yet tonight. We're live in Yorba Linda. Tim Caputo, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Tim, thank you.
Hey there, I'm CJ.
And I'm
Now that happened about 10 days ago, according to this to the Instagram thing. It was on May 4th is when that happened, Sunday, May 4th.
Yeah.
And so to get kind of the understanding of what happened to these guys, so they both have a GoFundMe that I'll put links down in the description of the podcast below, and I'll read some of it. I read a little bit of it last week, but I'll just kind of reiterate. This says, on Jamie Benn's GoFundMe, it says, while enjoying a day with fellow car lovers, Jamie was targeted and hit by a speeding truck, then shot 2 times along with his friend Leon Zoltzman, who was with Jamie talking at the moment of the attack and attempted murder. The attacker hit both men with his truck, causing severe injuries, and then got out of his truck and began shooting at both men, striking each of them multiple times. The attacker also shot several rounds at other bystanders too, and fortunately missed before taking his weapon to himself in suicide. So it says Jamie had known the attacker for over 30 years, and 2 years prior to this attack, Jamie had severed all communication with the perpetrator because of mental health issues and threats. Jamie suffered full body extensive trauma and injuries, 4 broken ribs, 2 gunshot wounds to his right leg, and suffered from a heart attack as a result from the attack. Thanks to the quick thinking of a friend who applied a makeshift tourniquet, Jamie survived long enough to reach emergency care. Upon arriving at the hospital, his heart briefly stopped and he required emergency blood transfusion before undergoing life-saving surgery. So this has been a super, super, I'm sure it's an unbelievably expensive situation that's happened for the family. It's a tragic situation. And I'll read a little bit of what happened to Leon Zoltzman. It says pretty much the same thing. Leon was first struck by a truck, suffering serious injuries to his back, fractures from his lumbar spine, L1 through L5, and thoracic T3 and T12. Seconds later, he was shot on the right side of his chest, pierced across his chest, missing his heart. The bullet lodged into his left armpit, his right forearm shattered due to blocking the gunshot, missing a major artery by millimeters. A gunshot that was directed towards his head. Third bullet grazed his left calf. The person who attacked him was someone Leon knew, but they had no personal relationship or interaction. The shooter was targeting someone else, and Leon happened to be standing at the wrong place at the wrong time. Leon had no part of the conflict and happened to be a bystander. He's now in the hospital undergoing emergency treatment, preparing for multiple surgeries. His recovery will be long and painful. So, he's got a family and kids. Both people got families and stuff, and so it's kind of a shame that this stuff happens. And I think there's a couple things that we're going to discuss here, right? Like we've seen it recently over the past 20, 30 years, that the increase in mental health issues with people. Yeah. And I think some of it is maybe other things that are exacerbated by whatever it is, and the quickness of our current medical people putting people on. They're very quick to put people on pills and stuff like that. Yeah. And so it's kind of unfortunate. And, and the crazy part is this happened on a weekend, the day after they had a celebration of life for Bob, who just passed away, and we just lost Stan. So then we have this tragic situation. But one of the reasons I wanted to kind of talk about it is because this isn't like a freak thing that VW events are not safe. Like, this is just a situation where you had a dude who had some mental health issues, and, he's in California where they have super strict gun laws, and it didn't stop him from getting a gun and coming back. On top of that, he went European style, tried to take him out with a car. Right. And so, like, when you're crazy, it doesn't matter. You get a gun, a knife, whatever, you're going to try to get somebody.
Rules don't matter to crazy people.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's super unfortunate. It really just kind of puts a twist in the whole thing. But I did want to bring it up for.
This is not a VW related event. This is an idiot that had freaking issues. And from what I hear, he had threatened multiple people multiple times.
And again, we don't know the guy. Clearly the guy had some psychological issues.
Yeah. But I do want to mention one thing about the actual event, because the people who put it on, Ryan Ousley, who is a Crocodile Bait Gringo on Instagram, he's the owner of Orange Empire Speedometer, but he's one of the gentlemen who puts it on. He did put on there that spring picnic will be happening again next year, 100% for sure, which is pretty jam up of the people that have that venue to understand that it was an isolated incident and not a norm, considering they have 20 years of an excellent record of events taking place there without issue. So shout out to those guys for making sure that the event still takes place. And it's not that it's more important than what happened to people, but that was an isolated incident and should not affect the entire scene, for a couple of guys having a problem with each other.
Yeah. And I think we sometimes have situations with a lot of people. There's a lot of people in the VW scene, right? And sometimes those, you'll run across people where you think like, man, all of a sudden you're dealing with the guy, and then they start just getting kind of super awkward and really, so, I think one of the things is like, there's a lot of people going through a lot of stuff, and, unfortunately people aren't getting the help that they need because either people are just kind of done dealing with them, or, so many different things. But
you can't force someone to get help too, is another problem. So if that gentleman did have mental issues, obviously had mental issues for what he did. I mean, normal people wouldn't do that. It's not how you react in a situation.
Right.
So he never got the help he truly needed to learn to cope with things like, having issue with somebody. So
yeah, and then
real freaking black eye on our scene, which sucks because it can make, from an outsider looking in, make it look like it was a an incident related to VWs, but it wasn't. It was a freaking wacko that happened to be in our scene, you know?
And, you know, obviously it's such a crazy situation that, you know, it got a lot of media attention and all that stuff. But, you know, and then 4 days later, I'll read this from KTLA. It says 2 found dead in apparent murder-suicide. It says, an investigation is underway after 2 people were found dead in an Anaheim Hills home in an apparent murder-suicide Thursday night. Anaheim police responded to the home on 380 block of South Henningway around 6 p.m. Arriving officers found 2 people inside the home with apparent gunshot wounds. They were pronounced dead at the scene. Police between the victims were husband and wife. A firearm was located nearby. Details were limited to the circumstances leading up to the couple's death remain unclear. Their identities were not released as the investigation remains ongoing. And so that, unfortunately, was some other people in the VW scene. That was... oh, geez, how's it slipping my...
The gentleman's name is Tony.
Yeah, it was Tony and Allison, and it was it's really a shame because nobody really knows what happened. It's just crazy that there's so much of this stuff happening right now. It just happens to be like it's just this crazy couple weeks that's happened over here.
Yeah,
and Gurrero is their last name, Gurrero. So Tony and Allison Gurrero. It's just a shame, man, that people. You got another situation where a crime happened, and then one of the people took action upon themselves, and it just there's a lot of stuff going on with mental health struggles and people that aren't seeing things clearly. And people taking the time to communicate. I mean, there's a lot of layers of this, right? Like first and foremost, this is the thing that I think is important, that I think about a lot. And I had an opportunity to think about this while, when I got back from my 2-month vacation in Mexico that I spent in prison. My family had a bunch of people write letters for me and stuff like that. And I think like a bunch of people wrote nice letters and things about how they felt about me and all that stuff. And I just thought like, that's like the closest I think you can come to being at your own eulogy.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is we don't tell people how much they mean to us when we're here. You know what I mean? And I think if people started doing that on a regular basis, I think it would make a big difference, to tell people how much they mean to you, how much their friendship means, how much you appreciate, that they've been in the hobby with you this time, and that you're thankful for your hobby in the Volkswagen scene to have these friendships. And we just, there's not enough of that going on, and a little too much of people just struggling and stressing out about stuff. And if you're listening to this and you're having situations of stress and you're having funky thoughts, stuff like that, man, I encourage you to go seek out some help, because it's not normal. It's not all doom and gloom. Things aren't that bad. You can always get through things. You just might need to get some stuff situated. You know what I mean? And you can seek some help for that. And it's important that people
get some help.
Yeah. That people see that, that people see
Talk
that.
to a friend, something.
Yeah. There's, there are people that are there for you. And by all means, man, it's important that people seek professional help for stuff that they're struggling with.
For sure.
And it's just so crazy. I mean, one thing between the two, right? So, of course, somebody would call me a spam call.
Yeah, good thing.
A spam call would just call me at this time.
With what you're saying, like how like people really don't express how they feel or whatever, or you got those letters and you saw how people feel about you. Like you said, it's like your eulogy. I wasn't blessed with children in my life. So you're probably the closest person in my life because, we grew up together. We have the same background, same history. And I feel so bad for Steve Ford, who's left behind without a brother now. And I'm sorry for the entire Ford family. Yeah. I know that's it. But the strongest bond I know in my life is my brother.
Yeah.
So, and they were twins, and we're always accused of being twins because we're only a year apart. That one really hit home. When I heard about that, the first thing I thought about was Steve. Like, that's gotta suck so bad to lose your brother. Like,
well, I mean, to lose family and the bummer. I mean, look, there's been a lot of people that have passed away, and I think listen, we're all getting older, man, and we all, like, I've been going to the gym every morning. I've been trying to watch what I'm eating, trying to monitor some stuff, and trying to get in better health. And it's like we're all at that age now. Like maybe we can't party hard like we used to. Maybe we can't keep doing the things we do because we've got to improve our health if we want to be here for a long time. And I mean, we had Telly Carson pass away. I believe unnecessarily because it went untreated diabetes. I just had a friend of mine that I sat with just recently, and I saw him, and I haven't seen him about 6 months, and he's lost about 50 pounds. And I'm like, dang, man, you're looking great. We were pretty similar body builds, right? He looked like I looked when I got out of Mexico. Yeah. And I'm like, I said to him, man, you're looking good. Are you, he says, well, I have to be taking the shot because he went and had his blood work done.
When you say the shot, he's on Ozempic?
Well, he has a shot like that. There's multiple different ones, Mounjaro, whatever, and semaglutide. And so he was prescribed it by his doctor because of diabetes. He said he went in, he was at some event and he couldn't see. And that's one of the things with diabetes, right? Like your eyes get super blurry and you can't see stuff. And I've been wearing, I personally been wearing a monitor, glucose monitor, just to check where I'm at because I'm trying to do everything naturally, the way I'm trying. So I'm trying to condition my brain to see what I eat, how it affects my body. I'm wearing this constant glucose monitor, and a lot of people have opinions left, right, and in the middle on it. Everybody's opinion, that's great. And for me, my buddy went into the thing and I've been watching my blood sugar level. I'm like, oh man, I ate a cookie, right? Like I had nothing to eat all day. And then like someone hands me, not just a cookie, but like a cookie from
Crumble.
Shout out to my friends at Cookie Fridays.
Oh.
And they brought in this Cookie Friday. It was like a chocolate chip cookie. And this thing was dense and it was good. And it was dense and it had a lot of, my blood sugar, I ate that thing. Blood sugar spiked like 160. When my buddy that went in the doctor, he went and go see his blood sugar and it was like 360 or something crazy like that, which is just like,
that's insane.
The crazy part is like, sometimes we get into rhythm and, we just get in these habits that we have that we formed from just, kind of not being focused that much. So I encourage all you guys to pay attention to your health.
We lost another one here in Vegas, the gentleman, Sean, who owned Gilmore Enterprises.
Yeah.
He was, I believe, only in his 30s.
Yeah, he just passed away too.
And from my understanding, I spoke to somebody, he was going in for a gallbladder, just a normal gallbladder removal, and didn't make it out of the hospital, which freaked me out because my wife recently had her gallbladder removed, and it was an outpatient, which I thought was insane, that they were removing something like, take her on home. And this gentleman went in for a gallbladder surgery and didn't come back from the hospital, Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I didn't know the kid. Sean was his name, and I'm trying to see if I can get his full name. I'm on Facebook, kind of looking at it. And I just want to, hit him up. And if you guys want to check out Gilmore Enterprises website, she's looking for somebody that's interested in taking over the business. It's air conditioning business for Volkswagens. And she says on her post, May 6th, my life partner, Sean, and I purchased Gilmore Enterprises in 2022. Together, we poured our hearts into continuing a 30-year tradition from a company specializing in air conditioning for air-cooled Volkswagens. Since Sean's passing, it's become clear that I can't keep the business going. Sean was like a one-man operation, so it's pretty tough when your one-man operation leaves and no one's there to actually pick up the reins and do the work still,
Yeah, and so... it's just a shame, man. Like, and that's a circumstance where I went to the hospital for a quote unquote routine surgery, and things didn't pan out, man. I've seen that scenario all too frequently over the past 6 months where people go to the hospital for something and they get a little more sick in the hospital. So if you guys can,
it's called medical practice.
Well, it's not even that. Like if you want to go to the worst place to be when you're sick is go to the hospital because it's just,
hate hospitals.
A giant petri dish. So
I just got done with a 30-day heart monitoring. Like I was wearing a heart monitor for the last 30 days because I went into atrial fibrillation about 2 months ago, just after dinner, and it lasted for an entire day. I probably had 5 episodes in one day. So your health is very fleeting, people. Hang on to it and do your best to maintain it as best you can. You only get one of these blood bags to work out of.
Yeah. And Sean's name from Gilmore Enterprises was Sean Wright. So shout out to his family, man. Our condolences and Godspeed, and hopefully.
And if somebody is interested in that, it's a really successful business. Ed Hua, who we know, started it, and there's another gentleman, I can't remember his name, that purchased from Ed. But they have everything pretty much laid out with the manufacturing and all that stuff. There is some assembly required, I'm sure, on the owner's end to do it, but I would think it's a pretty lucrative business, in certain areas of the country for sure.
No, I definitely think, here, Arizona, places like that. I mean, it, a lot of people don't like how it looks with your, in your engine compartment, but I think you like how it feels when you're driving around with air conditioning. That's for sure. So, but yeah, that's an opportunity there to try to pick up from somebody that's struggling. So I will, I'll put a link into that. It's on the Samba. You can look it up. It is Samba ad number 2744508 if you guys are interested in that, and check it out. She's looking for somebody to take over that Gilmore Enterprises. It's it's just unfortunate, man. It just seems like we're losing people at a young age, man. So
we're also at that age in our 50s where you are going to start losing people more rapidly because we're all aging out,
So
on to brighter notes.
Yeah,
let's talk about something else.
On to other things that we're discussing.
But RIP to anybody who's passed in any of those situations we talked about, and Godspeed to all of them, and thoughts and prayers, all that stuff. Tell your loved ones you love them. Hey, Bill, I love you, bro.
Yeah, I love you, bro. I love you, bro. Good looking out. So let's get some, George, how about some project updates? What have you been working on at the shop? What's going on?
Those who follow my YouTube channel know I haven't put out a video in like 3 weeks.
Why not? What's the problem, George?
I do repetitive things like any job. And things I'm doing now are things I already have filmed, so that's not going to make for interesting content. I am working on a video right now of making a press for doing vent windows. Anybody who's done that job knows what I'm talking about. It is a difficult job to do, so I'm showing how you make the press for it to put that thick rubber seal into your glass when you're doing your vent windows on a VW. So that's the one I'm working on right now. The parts and pieces have just arrived to start doing it, so I'll start filming that video this weekend, and then hopefully have it out by Friday of next week. We're showing how to do bus window frames, your front doors, the ones that come out of the doors. I'm doing a complete rebuild of those, so I'm going through the process of that. As far as projects go, my Thorn 6721 window is completely painted now. I'm at the point where, like I said, I'm rebuilding stuff. I've ordered upholstery. I got Clara's panel. Shout out to them. Greg Noble, Greg Noble, I believe.
Yeah.
Westphalia Camper Box or whatever. But
camping box on Instagram.
Yes. They are doing my panels for that, which I'm super stoked on. All the way to the drink tray and everything.
Yeah, they do some good work. If you guys are looking for bus panels, hit them up and check out their. It's Clara, right? Is Clara now? Was Clara the same one that made the bras for the buses? Or
I don't know. I don't know. She makes beautiful panels, like the pockets in them, everything. Like I really dig them, and I had to actually convince my customer because you can go to Wolfsburg West and order the same panels, and they're actually a couple grand cheaper. But the way I had to explain it to my customers, like they're just going to come as the panels. When we get them from Clara, they're going to have the chrome on them. We have pockets in them that they aren't normally there. The quality, I can guarantee, is going to be higher than any of the store-bought panels that you can get because they take their time and try to put out a really high-end product. So I told my customer it's more expensive, but the quality should outmatch the price.
Yeah,
should outweigh the price, I should say, is a better way to phrase that.
Well, you get what you pay for.
Everything. So speaking of that, people got to stop buying junk motors. Just stop it.
Who bought what? Tell me the story. Tell me about
I have a particular bus in my shop that is JB welded on the backside of it. Like that's how the cam plug was a problem, and they fixed it with JB Weld. And they brought it to me to do a rear main seal, and it's not a rear main seal, by the way. And it's just like, don't cheap out on engines. When there's a guy that's going to do a full turnkey motor for you for $3,000 or $4,000, there's a reason that motor's $3,000 or $4,000. A case right now is $1,000, man.
Right.
If you're spending $3,000 or $4,000, there's nothing new in that motor. It's all refurbished junk, and you can only use the stuff so much. Like even when I went to put the sump on this engine, because once he found out it was that, and I told him, I said you just need a new case. There's nothing I can do for it, So, just bypass that and let's do a couple of things to it. So I had to reseal his sump, just resealing it. So I put a Ross Wolf Viton kit on it while I was resealing the sump. It's like a Band-Aid on a broken knee, but like the entire mating surface of where the sump goes was completely corroded away because this case had been underwater apparently at one point in time in its life. It's like someone chose that to build your motor off of. Just stop, everybody. Go to a reputable builder. There's plenty of them out there. They are expensive, but like anything, you get what you pay for. How much was your Raby motor in 1998, 99 when you bought that?
Well, I bought it in 2000. The bus debuted in 2003.
With a different engine? No.
I debuted my bus in 2003 because that's the magazine says in 2003.
Okay.
I bought the motor in probably 2002, 2001.
It had that motor from the word get, right?
Yeah. But I paid $8,500 for that motor. Everybody called me crazy.
And that was 25 years ago. And
where's
that motor right now?
Yeah, that was 22 years ago. Well, the motor's over at Adam Wicks, and he's like, "Why are we going through this thing?" And I said, "Well, it puffs a little bit of smoke. Could probably use a set of rings. I want to put a turbo on it."
Hey.
And you know, he
let's take it easy with the turbo, bro.
No, I already have the turbo. Turbo's Direct, guys. Go to Turbo's Direct. Call them up with your turbo needs. They hooked it up with a little bit of a discount when I ordered the turbo. So I'm taking the 2270, which is a low compression turbo motor, and I ordered a turbo. I said, "This is the displacement of my engine. I don't want it to make more than 10 pounds of boost because I know if I have access for it to go to 11, it'll go to 11." And so they told me what turbo I needed. So I have the brand new turbo. I've got the hats. I've got everything to blow through on those carburetors, and that's the plan with the Raby motor. We're going to pull it apart. I dropped it off over to Adam Wick's place. I did.
I would say it just needs a top end rebuild.
Yeah. I did the job that I did
split.
rebuilding it, which is, not rebuilding it, but just power washing it. So, there's that. So we're going to have to.
Does that one have the Nickeys in it?
No, that was before they started doing Nickesil pistons.
Okay, so they're just regular ones. So you could replace them with another regular set of pistons or cylinders and pistons.
Yeah,
or
the pistons in it are Keith Black pistons and Total Seal rings and some stuff like that. I have the whole spec sheet for the motor. So, but that motor, I wrung its neck. I drag raced that motor several times. I think that bus ran 1680s.
I did bull run.
We did bull run. I mean, that was 3,000 miles in 2.5 weeks,
And that motor didn't skip a beat, by the way, the entire time.
No, the only thing it did, and so it's interesting, tying this back to the podcast I just did recently with Gerald Klaus. So I look at the intake manifolds his dad makes, and they've got where the outside bolt is, because the biggest issue I've ever had on that motor was sucking intake gaskets.
Yeah, that's one thing it did happen.
I think it has to do with when you look at the manifolds that he makes, where the outside bolt is on the Type 4 manifold. It's like 2 inches thick. And so it's putting a lot more downforce on the entire flange, on the entire intake manifold, instead of just a nut on top of an ear. And I think that's why he does it, because why else would you add that much meat to that thing? I mean, it's massive. And if you look,
push out the load, you're talking about the inner bolt. So it's
no, the outer
Type 3
bolts
has 2 outers and the one middle, or is it 4?
No, they'll have 3 and 4. So you have 3 on the
1718s and 4 on the Type 4, 2 liters.
Yeah, one or the other. I can't remember, but I think mine has.
So what you're saying is
4
the outer ones, he has the thicker flange on.
Yeah, it's
and the inner is still low, like
big.
it's still just a regular stud.
Yeah, so
that makes sense. But I forgot about that. I did have to change one. I had to make an intake gasket, like you buy a sheet good, and I bought some of that. And I had to make an intake gasket because we started up one morning when it was freezing.
Yeah.
And it was, that was the instant giveaway. We had an intake leak. You said, we have an intake leak. And I was like, really? That's what it does? Because Type 1s don't do that.
Yeah, it kind of whistles.
And I had to make an intake gasket. I forgot that one thing. And that's not Raby's fault. We were in freaking freezing temperatures, dude. Like,
I mean, again, it was, so the short version is that, if you buy it built right once, that motor has been through some stuff, and I have not had any issues with it at all. I mean, the heads have never been off it. This is the first time the heads are coming off in 20 years. And it's not, that engine's driven over Baker Grade to California how many times?
So let's go back to your podcast. What's the gentleman's name? Something
it's Gerald Klaus that built the cylinder heads.
So when I get a car in to adjust valves on, I don't just go willy-nilly and loosen them up to them, because if you watch my video when I talk about it, when you're going to adjust the valves, they're telling you the story of that engine. If they're super loose, if they're tight, like you're reading off of that to it basically lays out how your motor is reacting to the heat cycles it's going through, how much you're pushing your valve train, things of that nature. You can get all those readings off it just when you go to adjust the valves and how much lash you are dealing with. And I notice when I go to do my own motor, I don't have to adjust my valves. I check them. I always check on every motor, but I'm talking about my own personal engine. I check them and I'm like, wow, I don't have to adjust them. That's weird. And I think, like, is that weird? But then when he was talking about the heat cycles are what really affect your valve adjustment, and I would assume it has to do a little bit with wear as well. But most likely, most of it he was talking about was the heat cycles that make it to where you have to adjust them more often. So it leads me to believe that my heads are cooling off just fine if I'm not having issues, you know? So that was a really interesting thing that he was talking about, and especially the fact that the dude has a degree in metallurgy. He's not somebody just talking out the side of his mouth. He understands what he's saying. Like, you know, you have a stainless steel valve seat, you have an aluminum head, you have all these different components coming together, but how they heat and cool affects everything about it. I love those kind of podcasts. I really do.
Yeah, and I really wish, I've been chasing Lonnie Reed for a long time. Who's
Lonnie Reed?
Lonnie Reed, the head shop. So he owned the head shop back in the 70s and big, VW head porting guy and all that stuff back in the early days of Gene Berg and, Rick Stanfield and a bunch of people that I've been trying to get on the podcast. And it's funny because some people get pretty nervous about it, or they think they're so focused on like, oh, it's got to be perfect. And I want everything to go like A, B, and C. And I'm like, it's not that. It's just a conversation, sharing what you know. Because, for example, I know Lee Bashaw has told me before, like he's listened to the podcast with Fred Simpson like 10 times. Like he's like, dude, I keep listening to it because every time I listen to it, I hear something else because he's spitting out so much
Fred
knowledge.
Simpson I probably listened to 3 times.
Yeah.
Ron Loomis I listened to a bunch.
Yep. Pat Downs has been listened to a lot. Yeah. And Pat
Downs was another one.
Pat, we've been trying to get together to get on.
I just sent my Snap-on guy to him. My Snap-on guy brings his heads to me and like, well, just check these out and see what they are. And I'm looking at the heads and like 2 complete fins are shaved off of them. So, it's like they're going for a super high compression thing there when you see that kind of stuff done to it. I'm looking in the ports and they're welded all around to do the machine work. But when you look in the ports, it's full of porosity. Like there's holes everywhere in the ports, which tells me they were welded, but not welded well. They're not a cast head that they put that extra material into to do it. So I said, listen, man, heads and cam are where you make your power. Spend the money now. Call up Pat Downs Performance, get a set of heads from him. You might go on a waiting list or whatever. I said, but the product you're going to get is the best in the business. I said, and if Pat Downs can't do it for you, the next option would be CB, which Pat Downs is the foundation that CB was built on, in my opinion, with their head work and all that. And then I said, if that doesn't work, then fall back to Impy like stage 3 heads, if that's the case. But spend the money. Get the right heads.
Well, what
for
do
your
you
car,
want? What do you want out of it, right? Do you want something? Are you rationalizing not spending the money by saying, "Well, I'm not going to drive it that much. I'm not that concerned."
No, he
with
does
it.
want to do what we do.
You know what I mean?
So here's the thing: he got a 2386 from somebody, and it was a straight line car. And people build straight line cars very different than something you're going to drive on a daily basis or for.
It's only got to run
trip.
for 10 seconds.
That's it. And it's super high compression. It's a 2386. I mean, the valves are. There's no meat in between the valves, so I'm assuming they're 44, 37. So there's something giant. I didn't take them inside and measure them.
It could be 48, 38. You know what I mean?
I mean, they literally look like a figure 8. There was no meat in between them.
And the funny part is like those, unless it's built super precision, those aren't driving motors. I mean, when you talk about when you look at like Steve Dalton's motor, right? And that's a 535 rear wheel horse. A driver car, it's a driver, a drag and drive car, but that thing is built with so much care and everything put into it because that's the intention of that car, right? So it's got to be built to live. And of course, this is the conversation I had with Adam Wick all the time because Adam Wick's an NA guy, he's not a turbo guy. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but a turbo gives you the flexibility to like have a driver and then hit the boost when you want to go fast.
Look at the majority of cars nowadays. Everything's turbo.
Absolutely.
Because they understand like you can get more power with smaller displacement and tunable power, meaning low end, Like if you're just putting around, it's not that big of a deal, but you want to pass somebody and hit that go pedal and it responds, and it responds well. Or once it gets going on the freeway, it's really not building boost, but the turbo will help it go along. My wife's Audi gets 30-something miles to the gallon. It's a big Q5. It's like clunky, like a bigger, larger SUV. No, I guess a mid-size SUV, but to get 30-something miles to the gallon, that's pretty impressive. My truck, 13, 14 on a really good week. If I road trip my truck, it dips into the 20s because I'm staying on the freeway at a consistent speed, and it does really well there. But yeah. No, turbos are the future.
What's interesting when you look at the difference in technology, it's like when you had the turbo, the Cyclone, the Typhoon, the Cyclone, it said payload no more than 500 pounds max. And now you're looking at like the Ford EcoBoost, and those are all turbocharged, tow 15,000 pounds or whatever they are. And, it's the difference of the manufacturers understanding turbocharged technology, because, they were doing turbos, General Motors was doing turbos in the Corvair in 1959, air-cooled turbo cars. Yeah. And then they also had the Oldsmobile, which had an all-aluminum V8 with a turbocharger on it. I think it was the Starfire. So they've been doing turbo stuff for a long time, but the U.S. market never really went after it like the European market did, right? The European market really capitalized on the turbos and all that stuff. And where they've come, it was funny. I was driving down the street today and I saw one of those new, one of the electric Hummers, and I looked at it and I thought, I bet if they took that electric Hummer and they put a 6-cylinder diesel in it and made it like an actual a rig that you could crawl, because now with transmission technology, you can have something that has a lot of torque, 10-speed transmission, goes on the freeway, no issues. But when you take it out to go crawl, because they did it electric, and now it's, who goes crawling with electric vehicles, right? Like we're going to find out with that how many you're going to see out at Moab and stuff like that. But I don't think, I don't think we're going to have too much of that. So,
those things are insane, by the way. Ronnie Gomez has one, and he was just driving in front of my shop, and you put it in like a launch mode. Like you hold 2 buttons down, it lowers the Hummer, and you take off, and like it takes off so hard you're nauseous. And that's not even a joke. It's like, it's insane. It is absolutely insane how fast that thing is.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of technology out there today, and you see some of it eventually bleed through to our hobby. But George, what else you've been working on in the shop? What you've been having? You worked on the Thorns bus, which is the
6721 window.
What color is it?
It's Titian red and silver beige.
So it's that Titian red and the silver beige. So
I'm sorry, beige gray.
Yeah. But you've been working on that, painted it, did a bunch of stuff so far. You're making some miles on that, some time, some distance on that thing, and that's because
some nice milestones on. I'm going to say that. They were very happy when they saw it in paint, and I ordered my upholstery, but unfortunately, I think Claire's going to be 4 to 6 weeks out. Unfortunately, TMI says they're minimum 8 weeks out, because I did order the seats in TMI. The reason I went with a TMI seat is because it does have the heat seams. And RIP to Matt Miller, he was the one who was supposed to do this upholstery for me. And he even recommended, he said, when we do it, we're going to order the TMI seats. And if I need to tailor them, I will. Like if he had to adjust a seam here and there, he was going to. So even Matt at that point was telling me, hey, get the TMI seats. They use the original materials. They're going to look good. And if we have to adjust, we will, if you want it to look proper. And I do want it to look proper. And that was the reason why I went with a TMI seat as opposed to having somebody stitch up seats for me. They're going to look sharp. I'm stoked on it. A couple things are going to change. I'm not doing, like, it's a 67 bus. There's so many, just like the Bug, there's so many one-year-only things on that freaking bus. It's insane. And you actually have the drink tray that I would need for it, because it has like this black rubber that goes along the top.
Right.
And yours is there with the rubbers present, everything. But I don't want to take your 67 only tray. They didn't have it when it came in.
It's for sale. It's all for sale.
Yeah. They didn't have it when it came in, so I talked with Clara, and we're doing just the 64 and down style.
How you going
drink
to
tray.
dismiss me like that instead of I could just hit the jackpot on this thing, dude? What's really going on?
I'll tell you what's nuts is she wanted a $500. Like they had one. She's like, it's $500. It's not in the best shape, and I'm like,
For a used one.
yeah. No one makes another one.
Let me know if you guys need one. I got one for sale
Yeah.
for $650.
I'll let you
This
do
one came
that.
out of the Bull Run bus, so it's a signature model.
And he will sign it too if you want.
I will
It'll be
sign it, dude.
really signature,
On
like
the
double
inside,
signature.
on the inside, bro.
So I was going to go that route, and I just thought about it, and I was like, they didn't have it when it came in. I don't want to take apart from your bus just in case you actually put it back into your bus, as you know, with the way it should be, and it's going to look beautiful when it's done. The armrest I'm doing in the same style I put on the Quicksand bus, the early 50, I think it's 55 to 59, where they have the cup on the bottom and the padded part with the chrome strip on it, because everything above that goes to a foam rubber armrest that just looks hideous. So there's a couple things that I'm changing out there to look, in my opinion, nicer. You know, a little, I consider a little more high end, like as you look at it, a little more tailored as I like interiors to look. And I had to go to Grumpy's to get the headliner. Here's another crazy thing. Like, you have an M code on a car, and you decipher the M code, and that's how you determine what goes where on a vehicle. It tells you everything on a bus, which is insane. So it says that it had a light gray ragtop. You go to order a ragtop. I don't care if it's Wolfsburg West, TMI, all of them. Nobody makes a gray ragtop for the bus, which is so silly. They have tan, white, and black.
Well, I'm sure any upholstery shop could make it.
But, so I had to call my boy Chris Vuk up, and I was like, dude, you got the same color roof, but I noticed you have a gray ragtop. Where'd you get it? And he's like, Grumpy's. So Grumpy's sells, it's called Pebble White, but it looks like a gray. They sell a white or a gray-looking Stay Fast canvas, not a pinpoint vinyl. I didn't want to do that. A canvas ragtop. So, and when I was talking to Greg, because I was going to send my frame to Grumpy's, and he said, bro, I've seen your videos. You can do it. You know, it's not that difficult of a job. It's not rocket science. You're changing out rivets and putting different, you know, bushings and whatnot in places. It's not that hard to do. So I'm gonna tackle that myself too. Most likely make a video on it when I do it.
You're going to tackle what? You're going to make the gray fabric?
No, it's already, I ordered that. No, doing the ragtop, like you change all the Teflon pieces on it to make it to where it flows nice and back and forth. You know, you put all
easy, bro.
You do all the stuff on it. So he was telling me, like, you know, he's like, you can do it, dude. It's not that difficult. It ain't rocket science, to quote him exactly.
Yeah.
So
no, one of the things that, you know, so we'll chat a little bit about some stuff I've seen out there in Facebook land. I just noticed that Just Dashes had a little video out there where they did the notchback dash recovering, and our boy
Lionel picked that up.
Lionel,
yeah,
it looks like he did. It looks like he had them do a dash and recover his dash, and they have it in the whole
and his armrest.
And I'm really surprised that people can't get like they won't just do. They can't just take a dash and NOS dash over there and just have them pop out a bunch of them. And obviously, you know, the market's pretty limited on how many people need those dashes, you know, but I think the Type 3 dashes are a huge thing, and I'm surprised that nobody's put the time, effort, energy into taking some NOS ones and having them copied and then, you know, do and then just have them made. But, you know, that's our hobby. So, but yeah, there's been a lot going on in the VW scene. I know that, you know, I've dropped off.
Well, we did a little road trip up to Scott Gildner's.
Yeah, I went to Scott Gildner's place, dropped off the Gia TC. Talked about that for a second on the podcast a couple weeks ago, but we got some plans for that.
And I'm working on, for that Gia TC, a 2276 that I'm piecing together, learning about Brazilian stuff.
Right, because I like an idiot, I'm trying to keep the Brazilian fan housing that's on there.
It's actually a good one. So I hit up Critter.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it because I hit him up about a small alternator install, and he said, you really got rid of the Brazilian alternator? I said, no, this is a different car. Because I was helping Cliff out with his engine. And he sent me a picture of one that he had with the Brazilian one on it. So he's like, it's a good alternator. And it, you know, it's a real VW one. And so your
I had it rebuilt.
Fan housing is particular, like it has to be used.
Right, it's cast for that. Right.
Yes. So it doesn't have the pocket and everything like that for the round standard generators to go on it. But I'm actually stoked on it. Everything's coming out really clean on that engine. So I'm curious to see how a 2276 does in a square, you know?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because doing the podcast with Gerald a couple weeks ago, I have that Pancake 1.8 liter sitting out there, and it's that brand new NOS motor that was for a howitzer, and it's a 1.8 liter, and the car, the engine that he has in his oval window is a 1.8 liter, and change. I mean, took that, he put a camshaft in it. I've got a stock cam, but he's like, that 1.8 liter, they just move. I mean, you're talking, I think they're like,
if you were to take that motor,
80 horse,
you could actually split it and reuse everything in it. You wouldn't have to replace bearings.
It's just a job.
Obviously, you'd change the camshaft if you were looking to get into that. But
right.
And I'm telling you right now, I built Type 1s and I built Type 4s, and a Type 4 is a lot easier to build than a Type 1.
Right. Yeah, it's and so now I'm sitting there thinking like, well, I got the 2276. That's got to go inside the Ghia TC.
That's being built for the Ghia TC.
But now I'm thinking, okay.
And I already built a beam for that, by the way. I built a 4-inch narrowed, which that's probably gonna have to change.
Yeah, it was funny because you're telling me you're doing a narrowed beam, and I thought
you should have sent me a picture at that time, going, "Hey, bro, I don't even need a narrow."
I was thinking to myself like, man, I remember that thing was sitting pretty good with the front end section, and the fenders are so wide on it. It's one of the few Volkswagens.
His TC Ghia has gas burners, the aftermarket gas burners on
it.
And if you're familiar with them, they really are wide. They widen your track for sure. Because I had them on my square back, and they rubbed like crazy when I turned. And when I put 4.5 Fuchs on the front, I mean, it was night and day difference as far as clearance goes. I wasn't privy to that information, so I built a 4-inch narrowed beam with Wilwood disc brakes, and and this is a beam from scratch. This is like a weld together beam, and then we were delivering his car, and I looked at the front. And I said, "Man, dude, I built a 4-inch narrowed beam for that, and those wheels are tucking pretty hard right now." So we've come to the conclusion I'm gonna have to take. The good thing is I have original VW arms with melee ball joints and the Wilwood brakes and brand new rotors and all that stuff. So we can just take all those goodies and put them into a stock beam that has adjusters welded into it. But I was kind of bummed on that when I saw the car, like, well, that's kind of a waste taking time on that.
Well, and looking at the car, I'm gonna have to do a short axle trans in it because the wheels we're gonna put on it either way. They're gonna kind of sit out there because I picked up.
We're putting a 2276. We probably might want to do a little something on the gearbox.
Listen, bro, we can fix that later.
We'll put a stalker in there and wonder why we're on the side of the road with cracked up everything in it.
Yeah, it's.
Are we doing a stock clutch on that?
I don't see the reason for super heavy duty clutches.
I don't
because
know. I'm stocking my 2332, bro.
My 2270 Raby Type 4 motor has always had a stock Sachs clutch in it.
Yep.
And the only time I really ever had issues with a clutch was when I put up I think the double cab has a performance clutch in it now.
It does.
I can't
we gotta
stand
get rid of it. We should.
But the one time I did have an issue is when I was trying to do burnouts in the heat in the summertime on hot asphalt, and I was smoking the clutch a little bit. But for the most part, I've never really had any kind of major clutch issues, and I run 225s in the rear, and I mean I got
what
a
I
lot,
tell people
a lot
is
of meat and all that stuff.
If you plan on doing like smoke shows and being super impressive and all that kind of stuff, whatever, then put a Ken in your car. If you just plan on driving the car and enjoying it, I've never pulled through my clutch. Like as you're going up a hill or anything, like I've never been like, oh, I think I'm pulling past my clutch right now, and I have a stock Sachs on my 2332 right now too. So I'd say we do that. And also, I'd rather slip a clutch than break things. So rather than snapping an axle, get a little clutch spin, we'll be okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little clutch slip, not spin, but.
No, I mean, it's funny because a lot of people just think it just depends on how you're going to be driving it. If your plan is to drive it, and like if you're going to try to pull a trailer, you might need a little more grip or a little better clutch.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think if you're going to drive that bus, I don't know. I haven't had an issue. And I was surprised when Jake was telling me when I bought the motor, he said, you just run a stock clutch. I'm like, stock clutch? Because you're always just like, well, I got a 1776. Might as well get the Kennedy.
Might as well get that stage one.
Yeah. And so.
Have that big, huge left leg. I got so tired of that. I did one strip cruise. And that week I pulled my clutch out. Like, nope, this sucks.
Yeah. So I've got the motor. I got the 2270 over at Adam Wick's place. We're just going to. I wanted to get a video. I said, hey, I want to do a video on this while we tear it apart and just inspect the motor. He's like, he says, you're going to take a video of that and they're going to see the dirt on that motor and think like, this is how Adam works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Well, I'll put a disclaimer like this is how I brought it to you.
I'm with Adam on
and
that.
you're upset about it, but still worthy of a bit of a teardown. So we'll, we're going to be doing a little bit of inspection on that, pull the heads off, possibly get. I would assume we're probably going to re-ring it. I think the cylinders will probably still be good because everything I think is from 20 years ago when they were still making decent stuff. And
when you're
even back
behind
then, Jake was still picking stuff for it. Like the pistons that are in are Keith Black pistons.
Yeah.
So it's like everything that they did. I mean, I guess, we'll see. Look,
The main thing is when you're behind that bus, you can smell when a motor's not running efficiently. Like you're burning oil. So for sure it's burning oil right now. So whether it's the heads need to be redone, man, you're a busy dude tonight. Whether the heads need to be redone or if it's a re-ringing of the cylinders of the pistons, something needs to happen there. Because there is, I don't want to say not blow by. It's not making an excessive blow by, but you smoke a little bit when you're driving now and you can smell a burning oil. We noticed the same thing in Sean McClellan's Type 4. That's why we had Adam Wick go through that one as well, because when he'd get on the pipe, it was a lot of smoke, and it's burning oil you're smelling. And I know Type 4s have like an Achilles heel, we'll call it, with the heads. So I would assume it might not be your rings, it might be the heads, maybe the valve guides or something.
No, those heads were new. They were new and they were gone. At any rate, we'll pull
20
apart.
years, bro.
It doesn't matter. They were new. They were gone through. They were re-valve jobbed all that stuff before because that's kind of the thing that he would go through the heads and all that stuff. So at any rate, the crazy part is the Bull Run bus is ready just to kind of put back together.
Yeah.
I really need to. I wish I had I used an upholstery shop here in town. Unbelievably dissatisfied. I paid the price they quoted when I took the car back because panels were falling apart and the glue was failing. The guy kept telling me how cheap us Volkswagen guys are when he gave me the price. I never negotiated anything lower. He tried to throw in a few add-ons that should have been included with the job. Eventually I paid him for it, but after sitting there, after showing up, I brought the car home. The car sat in my driveway. I went out of town for a couple weeks. It was warm, doesn't matter. And I come back and there's like
horrible.
3 panels. I got like the carpet, the rubber coming off. He's like, yeah, that's the fabric you picked. I'm like, right. The fabric I picked.
How about your crap
And here's the
ass
thing.
work?
But here's the thing that really upset me. I took my car to this guy and I said, how much would you charge me for it?
Yeah.
So it was a headliner in the limo bus.
Yep. Headliner, carpet,
Door panels. No, he didn't do carpet. I did the carpet.
That blue?
I did the blue.
Okay.
He did headliner, door panels, and recovered the seats. So it's 5 seats.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a back seat, a middle seat, and 2 front seats.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 seats, and redid the panels and headliner, and it was $5,600. And I thought, yeah, that's a fair price.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it to him. I didn't negotiate. I said, okay, cool. When can I bring it over? And then I brought it over and he did it. And I took it home and I'm super easy. It was like, let's use this or this. Oh, I can't get that. Okay. Use that and this instead. Okay. That's fine. Gets it. And then I just bring it to him. I said, hey, I'm a little and I said, well, cool. Let's get this done. And then I had the Mach 11. I was like, I'll bring the Mach 11 and get the seats done on that. I just want to kind of do the interior and get it cleaned up. He's going to buy a kit. And he's like, no, I can do it for the same price of the kit. And I'm like, okay, whatever, had him, I was planning when I was coming back after 2 weeks, cause I went out of town. Mm-hmm. When I was coming back, I was going to bring that car over there.
Yeah, bring the 68.
And then or the 69. And then I was going to bring it over there. And then I said, hey dude, I'm having some issues with the bus. Nah, it's hot outside. I'm like, yeah. It's a car. Like you're supposed.
Same guy did a convertible top for me. And he told me I need to put it in the sun.
Everything he did, it was never like, I'll take care of it. That's what I do in my business.
I tried to warn you because I had issue with him in the past. But this same gentleman did a convertible top for me, and I spent, I'm going to say, a day and a half aligning a top to where the window gap between the top, like meaning the naked top going up and down, was even the entire way around, and I kept it about maybe, I'm going to say, 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch, because you do have a big piece of rubber that goes there plus the top and everything that's going to go on it. I made sure my gap was absolutely perfect from front to back.
Where the header bow meets the windshield.
where it meets the side glass. I'm talking about your windows that roll up.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. So I spent all this time because I did the wood bows on it. I did everything on that roof myself.
So you had the whole mechanical set up and perfect, ready to go.
Ready to go. And I had beautiful gaps exposed all the way down on both sides. I get the car back from him, and I can put my hand in above the window, above the side window, the driver's window. I said, hey, man, what's this? Oh, you just got to leave it out in the sun for a bit. I said, do you know how much time I have in making this top right?
Did you buy a top kit for it, or did he make it from scratch?
We bought a Chuck's convertible top.
And so he probably cut it short and then just pulled it too tight.
Don't know what he did, but he did something really wrong. And what sucks is just leave it out in the sun. Listen, we're in Vegas. We got our pretty hot sun. That thing sat outside for about 2 weeks in the sun, didn't change at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, man, I can put my hand inside the car. This isn't right. You need to change some of this. There's really nothing I can do, man. Same kind of thing. That's why I warned you when you said you're going to the guy, he doesn't
and I told him
assume
to say,
responsibility for his actions.
I said, you know what? Because in my business, I do tiles, we do showers, all that stuff. I said, if you called me to do your shower, and then all of a sudden your shower's leaking, I'm like, we can redo
my
this, do
pan's
this.
leaking.
Yeah, and then call me back and say,
fix that.
Hey, shower's leaking. I look at you, go, yeah, it was the tile you picked.
You didn't want to pay for this.
And that was the thing.
Hang on. You didn't go, man, that's a bit heavy, bro. Can you get a little cheaper? He gave a price, and he said, okay.
And here's the truth be told. I believe $5,600. I think that's a fair price to the interior.
Right.
I don't think it's cheap.
I tell you what, I got more than that material so far. So yeah.
Well, yeah, but you got a whole different. I'm picking material from a fabric
door
shop.
Panels, headliner.
Well, you're talking from West Coast Classics.
No.
Where? From where?
Headliners from Wolfsburg West. It's only $461. The seats are TMI, and the door panels. I have more than that into that.
For the bus?
For the bus, yeah.
So how much is the door panels and seat covers from TMI?
I didn't get seat cover. I got seat covers from TMI and the foam.
How much was that? $2,700.
Yeah. $441. That is shipping. And I said, huh? It's foam.
Well, why don't you go pick it up?
They're in North Carolina. They're not in California.
Oh, they're not?
No, they're like in Tennessee or something like that. But we've already done a workaround on that. But that's what Joe Schmo going on TMI's website. $2,700. I couldn't believe the shipping when I saw it. And I said, "What kind of nutso crap is
that for door panels or just the seat covers?"
That was the seat covers and the foam.
$461.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Wow,
that's absolutely insane. So, but I found a workaround on that. We went another route to get those. But so that's where you're at in just seats. The door panels, I'm going to leave that unmentioned because it's expensive, and the headliner was $500. The rag top was $414 just for the canvas on the exterior, and then parts and pieces I bought from Wolfsburg West was another $500 for redoing all the sliders, rivets, and whatnot, and a couple other odds and ends I needed from Wolfsburg West.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets expensive, dude. It gets real expensive on these cars real quick.
Yeah, I just and that's what I would love to be able to take the Bull Run bus and drop it off somewhere and have somebody give somebody $5,000, have the interior done. And
this week I have James Pooley calls me up like, hey dude, I dropped my car for the interior shop. It's done, but when I was driving it there, it was having some issues. Can you snatch it up for me and just tune the carbs and stuff like that? I said, yeah, no problem, because I already went to his house and got it fired up for him months ago.
As we were talking about this, you said that he suggested an upholstery guy, I use this guy.
Yeah.
And well, let's finish the story. Go ahead.
So I go to pick it up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, typical overstuffed seats. I'm looking at the headliner, and then I see the door panel. And the bottom of it is it does. So a door panel should be crisp, like a nice smooth line that goes across it, and it's not. It goes up and down, and you can tell it's been broken. Mm-hmm. And I just grabbed the corner, and there's no clips on the bottom holding it in place. This is me ready to pick up a car from an upholstery shop that the owner has not seen yet. So I took it upon myself to have a conversation with the guy who did it.
Hold on, the door clips were not on the bottom of the door?
Oh, they fell off, and we're just going to work past that. We're not going to replace them and put other ones in there. By the way, as I put my hand in there, there's no vapor barrier. There's no rubbers. There's no rubbers in the clip pockets. The clip holes. And I'm telling this is a gentleman that does upholstery for a living. I don't do upholstery for a living. I said, hey, man, even if you were to order like a TMI kit, there's still Masonite door panels. He's using that black board.
That tar board?
That black tar board is like so many people use for their door panels, and that's garbage. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's trash. But he's using that. And I said, the door panel's broken on the bottom, and none of the clips are holding it in. I said, I'm not one to speak for the owner, but I can tell you right now that if that was coming out of my shop, that'd be unacceptable. I said, I think you need to redo these. So I left the car with him, and I called the customer. I called James Pulley up and said, hey, dude, I don't know if I overstepped here, but I'm going to tell you right now, those door panels look like junk. And I told the guy he needs to redo them. He said, no, that's exactly. He said, I appreciate you saying that to the guy instead of just letting him, like most people just got in the car and drove away.
Right.
And then James comes to my shop and goes, those door panels look like crap. Well, I know that I wouldn't have accepted that. So it is a bummer because, I contemplated using those guys. Matter of fact, I was having a conversation with the gentleman.
I'm not going there.
I was having before I opened up the doors because I had to get the keys and everything from him. So we're talking and stuff, and I saw a bunch of TMI boxes. I said, "Are you a TMI distributor?" He said, "No, someone brought those for me to put the covers on." I said, "Okay." So now I know he's not a TMI guy. All right. So I said, "Well, I have a headliner that I need done in a 21 window," and he's like, "Oh, I've never done one." I'm right there. Okay, you're not my guy either.
21 windows, not a. I don't think it's. I think it's an easier headliner than the other cars.
I'm going to do it myself. Like I look at it, it's all window glue in. You have to
Yeah.
stretch the back section. I'm like, I might have to do this myself because it's like
George.
How many excuses can you get from people?
A lot, dude.
Put it out in the sun and it's going to fix your roof. Meanwhile, my customer called me a year later going, "Hey George, there's still a gap in our roof," and I'm like, I said, "Yeah, Mark. I said the guy that we wanted to go to was $3,500, and you don't want to pay that to have the roof put on. So we went to the guy that charged $1,200 to put the roof on."
Yeah.
There's the difference, My top that Matt Miller did still looks absolutely stunning to this day. When that thing goes up and down, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I think there's
R.I.P. to Matt Miller, man. The guy was a freaking craftsman, dude.
There are people that know, there are people that know how to do stuff, and there are people. I mean, there's people that are trained the ways, and then there's people that do it like everybody else does it, and then you can tell. And I think that's what the difference is. That. Listen, George.
I don't do door panels for a living. What do the quicksand bust door panels look like? Tight as a drum.
They look all right.
Beautiful, made proper, stapled everywhere.
Look, George,
nothing's peeling.
I'm taking things to another level, dude.
Yeah.
I'm taking things to
It's
another
the
level.
thing
Go
I
ahead.
sent you
Tell them what I'm showing you. Tell
me
them.
a custom auto interiors book because he's going to take it upon himself to do it.
That's right, bro. After I learn to play guitar, I'm gonna start doing custom.
My brother also was at the shop going, I think I'm going to start building engines.
Bro.
So I sent him the reel of the guy, the guy firing up the engine.
It explodes. Yeah, real funny.
Whole bottom end just breaks off the case.
Hey, bro. Listen.
I said, "Hey, Bill, it's one of your builds right here."
I've built an engine before I built my engine.
I got you, bro, and I built my engine too. One of them's still going, bro.
Mine was so fast.
Yeah,
mine was so fast. It got
stolen.
stolen, bro. It got stolen. So anyway, yeah. Long story short, how the engine gets jacked up in a car at a body shop, and they steal the engine out of the car. But at any rate,
you know what's crazy?
Yeah, what's crazy?
One crazy weekend coming at you.
That's right.
October 2nd through the 4th in Las Vegas, Nevada. Go to letstalkdubs.com and book your rooms, guys. Get your room code.
That's right.
We got Thursday.
Thursday is going to be
poker tournament.
The early arrivals and the poker tournament. We're going to have VW Trends is sponsoring a poker tournament. We're going to do that. We're going to be giving away Volkswagen prizes. It should be a fun time for all to have. You guys ever start watching World Poker Tournament on TV, so you know how to play some poker. And you'll see what to do.
And even if you don't know how to play poker, it's going to be fun.
It's just going to be fun, man.
Friday, daytime.
That's right.
We got a bowling tournament.
That's right.
And this boy's going to throw some balls in that bowling tournament.
Ross Wolf sponsored bowling tournament. So if any of you guys are good at bowling, make sure you guys DM me. Send me a message so I can set up a personal one-on-one versus George, a 1v1.
Adam Powell, get your freaking balls. So I was talking to him like, "You're going to do the bowling tournament?" We're like, "No, dude, I'm too competitive." I said, "All the more reason why you should be doing it. What are you talking about, too competitive?" Adam Powell, I know you're listening, bro. You better freaking bring your bowling balls and bowl against me on Friday, dude. I challenge everybody out there, bro. I'm not a great bowler, but I'm challenging everybody, dude. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm bringing my balls. Let's throw them. then Friday night, what do we got going on?
Friday night's going to be the world famous strip cruise.
Yeah.
We're going to do.
I don't know if that part's world famous. We're going to do the strip cruise.
Oh, it's world famous
poker
bro.
runs the next day, bro.
No. But listen, it has become world famous, dude, because everybody talks about it. Everyone dreams about driving their Volkswagen down Las Vegas Boulevard, and we're going to be doing that Friday night. It's an early meet and greet and hang out. And throughout the weekend, there'll also be places that you guys can leave the hotel and go check out some stuff and get some non-tourists, get some local discounts to go check some stuff out. Punk Rock Museum we'll probably do again this year, and we'll set up a couple other maybe museums you might want to check out. We also had Grand Prix mini go-karts. We had those guys were offering discounts as well. And matter of fact, that was DJ Renegade that will have him back this year to go ahead and DJ.
Absolutely.
I may have him for a couple days over there at the thing, because it was just so good to have a DJ there, and people really enjoyed having somebody there. So we'll plan on that. We're going to see how far we're going to take this thing in the parking garage, because I think we can make a lot of good use out of that space up there. And once that sun goes down, man, it can become the ultimate hangout session with an unbelievable strip view. So
yeah, I'm really stoked about the parking garage. I think that's such a great addition, because I love where the show was. I'm bummed that we're losing that, because it had this connectivity to the casino, which we're still going to have. We're still connected to the casino.
Right.
But the new venue, the security of it is what I like so much more. Obviously, you fell victim. You're the only one who fell victim to what happened with some guy went past our barricades and hit a car, and unfortunately hit Bill's car, So that's kind of a nice reality check for us to know.
That car is currently at Scott Gilner's getting a custom decklet build.
Oh, I cannot wait to see what he does with that. It's going to be so
He
stoked.
said
Back to one crazy weekend.
He said he'll probably have it done by Friday.
We have the entire upper level of the parking garage. So it's going to be about 4 times the space that we had before. So we're going to be able to really, hopefully, let's get some more vendors out there. Let's get some. Come on,
we're going to have a lot of vendor space.
Pat Downs, like everybody, let's come out and do Vegas, man.
I did want to mention that SoFine Interiors is on board helping sponsor some of the 80s cars. We've also got Wolfsburg West has agreed to sponsor some of those cars as well. So shout out to Wolfsburg West as well as SoFine Interiors. So if you guys need an interior, go check out SoFine Interiors. Also, you need rubber. I'm sorry, not Wolfsburg. What was wrong with me? Not Wolfsburg West. West Coast Metrics.
My goodness, Bill, come on. There's a big difference there.
I am sorry. West Coast Metrics has come on board and said that they're more than willing
to
supply some stuff for one crazy weekend. So
I was about to say, that sounds really odd. Wolfsburg West getting on board to help.
I've sent some emails to some people, and I've sent a couple other emails to see if some people wanted to be involved in the 80s build-offs, because there's going to be about 5 80s cars built for this event, possibly more. There'll be an 80s section. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening this year. So it's definitely an event not to be missed. And listen, man, what other event can you walk away with a pile of cash? I'm going
to talk to some of our friends that come down from around the world and see if they can take over judging. Like, I think I'm going to ask that favor of a couple of our overseas fellows there. So I don't have to be involved in that. So it's open season for any and every car out there, because I work on a lot of cars that are at that show. So I exclude them from my judging, so no one calls BS on stuff.
Right.
And I want those people to be able to participate just like anybody else. So if an outside source is looking at them and they don't know any connectivity to me about it, they're not going to.
Well, again, we can. Here's the reality is the way the show is set up with the QR codes. It's the most fair way to do people's choice. And what I was really hoping with that was people coming through there that are not VW people that would actually vote for cars. You know what I mean? But where that can get skewed a little bit is where you're parked, how you're positioned, all that kind of stuff. Either way, we'll be picking some vehicles. We'll be working on getting neutral judges. So we got to get George out of the judging, because he doesn't want the debate. And then there are people that want to enter the show that are involved, and they're like, well, how come I can't enter the show because you built my car, and if I win, people are going to say it's favoritism. But the reality is it's better if we just get a panel of judges. This way George doesn't have to worry about that and deal with the stress of that, because it's kind of annoying when you when you look at a car and you're like, one's clearly better than the other, but if it were to win, it would be like, oh, George picked that because he worked on it, or he's friends with that guy or whatever.
He built that car, so yeah.
And we're not into that. Like, it's stupid.
Listen, fair is fair.
Yeah, best car should win. And I really think we talked about it last year that if you want your car to be judged for a special category. Like we pick a top 20, but if you want your car to be judged or debuted, we should have a special group of cars for that.
Best debut.
Like even for the RVA show, I have to send them photographs of my car before they'll let me register for the show. Because it's like, because they're limited on space over there. Yeah. But I think maybe the same thing
in this show. What's the entry?
$50.
Okay. I was wondering, because like when they do things like that, limited entry, like we have a parking lot show. We can have 400 cars show up and accommodate them. If you only have 50 spaces, and shows don't happen for free, you have to have insurance. I'm sure you have to pay the venue, all that stuff. So I was curious, like, what do they do when you have a limited thing like that? Because RVA is nice because you walk through it. It's not cars stacked on top of each other. You're literally walking through and like, oh, there's one there. They're close enough, but it's not like a regular car show where they're literally like in line, one after another and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well,
and it's a good show.
Yeah, so that to add to that, we're going to be down there. There's going to be.
I'll be at Octo while you're at RVA.
Yeah, at the RVA show.
I'm doing the revival.
We'll be at the revival. That's going to be So Friday night's going to be the DKK cruise in. So I'll be there with Wayne's car. So you heard listen to the podcast 60 Watt, the car that Buddy Hale built last year for Wayne that won the that was placed at Triple Crown and a bunch of stuff like that. So it's won at a bunch of hot rod shows. It's been shot for Wheel Hub magazine. I mean, it's an off the hook car. Wayne and I will be at the DKK meet on Friday night, and then Saturday we'll both be at the RVA show, and then he'll probably follow us over to the ISP West Open House. After the ISP West Open House, then the next day we'll be at the VW Revival. So look forward to seeing all you guys out there that weekend. So that's coming up in about 2 weeks. So looking forward to seeing all of you guys out there in about two and a half weeks. And if you guys are looking for anything, anything in particular, podcast, people, topics, things like that you guys want, make sure you shoot me an email at bill@letstalkdubs. Also, don't forget, you want a shot on the podcast, pick up some merch, you get a shot on the podcast, as well as give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I've been trying to, I had to do a funky thing where I looked up different region podcast reviews like England, Australia, stuff like that. And I don't know how to get to all of them. So, but been checking that out to try to give as many shout outs as possible, but, appreciate you guys for listening. And, I think that kind of wraps us up for this week. And so until next week, guys, later.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out that doesn't look like a Volkswagen.